Stop right here because what I'm about to share may determine whether you catch prostate cancer in time or face it when it's already too late. Every year in America, thousands of men lose their lives, not because the disease was unstoppable, but because the earliest signs were brushed off as just getting older. Imagine the difference between waking up tomorrow knowing you acted early versus living with regret that you ignored the whispers your body was sending. That's the choice every man must face. I am Dr. Jonathan Prescott, professor of urology and men's health specialist with over 30 years of experience caring for men in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond. In my clinic, I have witnessed the heartbreak of patients who waited too long, but I have also seen the triumph of those who listened closely to their bodies and caught their cancer while it was still curable. My mission is simple: to guide you with knowledge, compassion, and the truth you deserve. Here's the paradox. The earliest signs of prostate cancer do not scream. They don't look dramatic. They appear as small, ordinary problems: trips to the bathroom at night, a weaker stream, a nagging ache in your back or hips. Harmless at first glance, but potentially the first red flags of something much more serious. Before we dive into the 7 critical warning signs, I want to invite you to join me on this journey. Subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another life-saving message. Leave me a comment. Type 1 if you believe this knowledge matters. Type 0 if you think I should improve it for you. And most importantly, press the like button right now. Because every like you give is more than just a click, it's a statement. May it bring you strength for the days ahead. May it remind you that you still have power over your health. And may it serve as a small but bold step toward protecting your future, your family, and your peace of mind. Now, let's begin with the very first signal your body may be giving you. When a man tells me he keeps getting little bladder infections or that he has to push just to get things started, my ears perk up. I'm Dr. Jonathan Prescott, and I want you to treat this as a serious early clue, not background noise. Men don't commonly get urinary tract infections. When they do, especially after 50, there's usually a reason, and the prostate is often at the center of it. I think of Mr. Robert Hayes, 62, a retired contractor who came in after 3 bouts of burning urination within a year. Cloudy urine, an odd smell, a feeling that he had to go again right after he'd finished. He chalked it up to coffee and age. The exam told a different story. His prostate was enlarged and pressing on the urethra. That pressure kept him from emptying fully, leaving behind warm, stagnant urine where bacteria could thrive. We investigated further and found early prostate cancer, caught before it spread. Today, he walks his grandkids to the park. That's what early action buys you: time. Here's what's happening inside the body. The prostate sits just beneath the bladder like a ring around the urethra. When it becomes inflamed, enlarged, or begins to develop abnormal cells, the opening narrows, flow weakens, residual urine remains, bacteria multiply, the cycle repeats. You feel burning, urgency, a stop-start stream, and the creeping sense that something isn't right. Most men minimize this. They blame dehydration, a long car ride, or one too many espressos. But men aren't supposed to get recurring UTIs. Women do because anatomy makes it more common. In men, recurrent infections are a red flag that deserves a workup. Urinalysis, urine culture, a PSA blood test, sometimes imaging, and a hands-on exam. The goal is simple: find the cause while it's still small. Here's how to turn vague discomfort into clear evidence. Keep a 7-day log. Note what time you urinate, whether the stream feels strong or weak, whether you had to strain to start, and if there was burning, urgency, or dribbling at the end. If you wake at night, write down how many times and whether you passed a full stream or a trickle. This record helps your doctor move faster and avoid guesswork. There are things you can do immediately. Hydrate steadily through the day rather than chugging at night. Cut back on bladder irritants for a week: alcohol, carbonated drinks, spicy foods, to see if symptoms change. But understand this, symptom relief is not the same as a diagnosis. If you've had more than one UTI in 6 to 12 months, or if you're straining, stopping and starting, or feeling incompletely empty after you finish, it's time for an evaluation. Waiting does not make this better. Pride keeps too many men silent. I'd rather you feel mildly awkward in my office than end up in the emergency room unable to pass a drop. The earlier we look, the more options you have, and the simpler those options tend to be. If any of this sounds familiar, speak up. Your body is sending signals. Your job is to listen. And once you notice this sign, another often follows. The stream itself changes in ways you can measure. That's where we're headed next. There's a particular kind of frustration men rarely admit out loud, the slow, hesitant trickle that replaces what once was a strong, steady stream. I've sat across from many patients who try to laugh it off, saying things like, "Doc, I guess the pipes are just rusty." But behind the nervous jokes lies something more serious. I'm Dr. Jonathan Prescott, and I want you to know a weak or interrupted urine flow is not just aging, it's a red flag. I recall Mr. David Miller, 68, who came to see me after months of struggling in silence. He'd stand at the toilet for minutes, waiting for his flow to start. When it did, it would sputter, stop, and start again. He told me almost embarrassed, "I feel like I've lost control of my own body." The truth was simple. His prostate was pressing down on the urethra, narrowing the passage like a hand squeezing a straw. The result was back pressure on his bladder and strain that no man should ignore. Here's the science in plain terms. Your bladder is designed to empty efficiently, 8 to 12 ounces of urine in about 20–30 seconds. If you're still straining after that or dribbling instead of flowing, the pathway is being obstructed. That obstruction may come from benign enlargement, but it can also be the earliest stage of prostate cancer silently reshaping the gland. Men often convince themselves it's nothing. They point to dehydration, age, or stress. But I've seen what happens when this is ignored. Bladder walls weaken, infections appear, stones form, and sometimes complete retention, where a man can't pass a drop, lands him in the emergency room. That's not just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. So how can you tell if it's time to act? Start with awareness. Notice how long you stand there. Notice whether you strain or push. Ask yourself if the flow feels effortless or forced. Keep a small log for a week: time, duration, strength, and any interruptions. It might feel awkward, but that simple record can save your doctor weeks of guesswork and give you answers faster. Mr. Miller is proof of that. Because he finally came forward, we caught the changes early. He received treatment before the damage could progress, and today he lives without that constant burden. The lesson is simple: don't dismiss this. Pride has never saved a man from cancer, but honesty has. If your flow is weaker, hesitant, or broken, it's time to speak up. Because often the story doesn't end there. The next chapter might show up in the middle of the night when your sleep is stolen by repeated trips to the bathroom. And that's what we'll uncover next. There's a certain kind of fatigue that no amount of coffee can fix, the exhaustion of broken sleep. I've seen it written across the faces of countless men who come into my office. They tell me they wake once, twice, sometimes 3 or more times each night to urinate. Most shrug and say, "Doc, I guess that's just old age." But I'm Dr. Jonathan Prescott, and I'll tell you the truth. Frequent nighttime urination is not just aging. It's often your prostate asking for help. Take Mr. Thomas Green, 71, who confided that he hadn't slept through the night in years. He would drift off only to be jolted awake every couple of hours with an urgent need to go. The trips left him groggy, stumbling in the dark, and increasingly fearful of falling. He thought it was just what men must accept as they age. But what we discovered was an enlarged prostate pressing against his bladder, tricking it into feeling full even when it wasn't. The result? A restless cycle that stole his sleep and his vitality. Here's why this matters. Interrupted sleep doesn't just make you tired. It weakens your immune system, fogs your memory, raises your risk of heart problems, and increases accidents at night. For older men that stumble on the way to the bathroom can lead to broken bones and a long recovery. The cost of ignoring nocturia is much higher than most realize. And let me add this, many of you watching might think, I get up once or twice, it's nothing. But if it happens regularly, and especially if it's paired with other symptoms, weak flow, urgency, or pelvic aches, it paints a clear picture that something deeper is happening with your prostate. Now I want to pause here and do something different. I've seen comments from some of you under past videos. One gentleman wrote, "Doc, I wake up twice a night, but I just drink too much water before bed." Another said, "I thought this was normal. My dad had it too." Let me answer both. First, hydration matters, yes, but true nocturia is not about one glass of water at bedtime, it's about a bladder being tricked. And second, just because your father had it doesn't make it normal, it makes it genetic risk. So here's my question for you. How many times are you waking up at night? Type the number in the comments below. 1, 2, 3 more. Let's see what this community of men is really experiencing. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe. Consider it your way of saying, I value my health and I want to stay ahead. Because the next warning sign is even more startling, something men never forget when it happens. The sudden appearance of blood where it doesn't belong. And that's where we go next. Before we move into the next warning sign, I want to pause and speak directly to you, the men who have been leaving comments, questions, and sometimes even criticisms. That interaction is what makes this more than a lecture. It makes it a real conversation. I'm Dr. Jonathan Prescott, and today I'll take a few of those voices and respond because your words matter. Question 1, Doc, I've been getting up 2 or 3 times a night for months. I thought it was normal. Should I see my doctor or just keep logging it? My answer, don't wait. Keep the log, yes, but bring it to your physician. 2 or 3 nightly trips are not normal. A log shows a clear pattern and helps your doctor act quickly. Awareness plus action, that's the winning combination. Question 2, I'm 65 and embarrassed to talk about weak flow. Is it really worth mentioning if I can still go? I understand that pride. But listen, being able to go eventually is not enough. If you're straining, pushing, or standing there longer than half a minute, your body is telling you something. Don't let embarrassment cost you your future. Speak up. It could save you years of independence. Question 3, Doc, you doctors always make things sound scary. Isn't this just part of aging? A fair challenge. Here's my reply. Aging does bring changes, but not like these. Frequent infections, weak flow, blood in the urine, those aren't just age. They are signals of disease. Pretending otherwise is what robs men of time. Fear isn't the goal, truth is. Question 4, I've seen a little blood once. It went away, no pain, so I'm fine, right? No, my friend, that's exactly the trap too many men fall into. A drop of blood may disappear, but the problem may not. Silent prostate changes don't wait for pain to announce themselves. If you've seen blood once, it's already a reason to be evaluated. Question 5, thank you, Dr. Prescott. Because of your videos, I finally made an appointment. My wife thanks you too. That means more to me than you know. Every man who takes action is not just protecting himself, he's protecting his partner, his family, his legacy. And that's exactly why I'm here. Gentlemen, keep these questions coming. I read them, I value them, and I'll keep responding. Your stories teach as much as my science. Now, let's continue. Because the next warning sign is one of the most alarming and one you must never ignore. The sudden appearance of blood in your urine or semen. A few things stop a man in his tracks, like looking down and seeing blood where it does not belong. Some men describe that moment as terrifying, others as surreal. I'm Dr. Jonathan Prescott, and I'll tell you clearly, blood in urine or semen is never normal. Whether it appears once, disappears the next day, or comes and goes, it is always a signal that must be taken seriously. I remember Mr. Charles Bennett, 66, a lifelong runner who prided himself on discipline and strength. One morning, he noticed a faint pink tint in the toilet bowl. He told himself it must have been exercise strain, maybe dehydration. When it vanished the next day, he felt relieved. Weeks later, it returned. That hesitation, those weeks of silence, nearly cost him dearly. By the time he came to me, tests revealed early prostate cancer. Fortunately, we still caught it before it spread. But not every man gets that second chance. Here's what's happening. When the prostate enlarges, becomes inflamed, or develops abnormal growths, the delicate blood vessels around it can rupture. That blood leaks into the urinary tract or semen. And because this bleeding is often painless, men convince themselves it's nothing. They tell themselves, if it were serious, I'd feel pain. That's the most dangerous myth. It's true blood in urine or semen can come from other causes: kidney stones, urinary infections, even vigorous activity. But the point is this: you cannot tell the difference on your own. The only way to know is through evaluation, urinalysis, imaging, and prostate-specific testing. Waiting and hoping is gambling with your future. If you ever notice blood, here's what I urge you to do. Write down the exact date and time. Describe the color: pink, red, or brown. Note if it happened with urination, ejaculation, or both. Record any other symptoms: burning, urgency, weak flow, pelvic pain. This information gives your doctor a head start and can make all the difference. I understand the embarrassment. These are private areas, private symptoms, but your doctor has heard it all before, and I promise you your pride is not worth the risk. Mr. Bennett's story ended well because he finally chose to act. He told me later that what frightened him most wasn't the diagnosis, but imagining what would have happened if he'd kept ignoring it. His honesty gave him time to keep running, time to see his grandchildren grow. So if you ever see blood, don't dismiss it, don't delay. Take it as your body's alarm bell. Because the next sign we must face is just as relentless. Pain that lingers in your lower back, hips, or pelvis, a pain that quietly erodes your quality of life. That's what we'll face next. There is a kind of pain that creeps into a man's life and refuses to leave. It doesn't come from a fall, a pulled muscle, or even arthritis. It lingers quietly day after day until it becomes part of the background of life. I'm Dr. Jonathan Prescott, and I can tell you, persistent pain in the lower back, hips, or pelvis can be one of the earliest cries for help from your prostate. I think of Mr. Harold Mitchell, 69, a retired schoolteacher who came to me after nearly half a year of dull, nagging back pain. He told me it felt like an old injury from yard work, something that stretching or rest should have fixed. But no matter what he tried, heat packs, pain relievers, even physical therapy, the ache never truly faded. He laughed it off, saying, "Doc, I guess my body's just worn out." But his eyes revealed the truth. The constant discomfort was wearing him down, robbing him of peace, of sleep, and of confidence. Here's what's happening inside. The prostate doesn't sit in isolation. It's nestled beneath the bladder, pressed between muscles, nerves, and bones. When it becomes inflamed, enlarged, or begins to grow abnormally, the pressure radiates outward. That pressure irritates nerves, creating pain that spreads into the hips, the lower back, or deep into the pelvis. Men often mistake this for arthritis, sciatica, or an old injury. But real injuries heal. This kind of pain does not. Patterns matter here. Ask yourself, does the ache last for weeks instead of days? Does it worsen when you sit for long stretches and ease slightly when you move? Does it return again and again, even after you think you've managed it? These clues are your body's way of insisting that this isn't ordinary aging. It's a sign that demands attention. Mr. Mitchell's story is one I never forget. Alongside the back pain, he eventually admitted to a weaker urine flow and more frequent trips at night. When we put those signs together, the picture became clear. His prostate was the source. Tests confirmed early-stage cancer. Because he spoke up before the pain grew unbearable, we treated it successfully. Today he enjoys gardening again, this time without that dull ache shadowing his every move. This is why I urge men to keep a simple pain diary. Write down when it starts, how long it lasts, and how intense it feels on a scale of 1 to 10. Note what aggravates it and what soothes it, even briefly. These small records can give your doctor the evidence needed to act quickly. Gentlemen, pain is not weakness. Pain is communication. If you've been living with stubborn aches in your lower back, hips, or pelvis, don't dismiss them as just age. They may be your body's warning, asking you to listen before it's too late. And when that pain moves from the background into the very core of your daily life, impacting intimacy, confidence, and manhood itself, that's when the warning grows impossible to ignore. That's where we turn next. There's a special kind of discomfort that men too often brush aside. It isn't sharp like an injury, and it isn't predictable like arthritis. It's a low, steady hum of pain in the pelvis that lingers day after day without clear cause. I'm Dr. Jonathan Prescott, and I need you to hear me when I say persistent, unexplained pelvic pain is not normal. It is one of the most critical early warnings of prostate cancer. I remember Mr. Edward Collins, 72, who came to me after nearly 4 months of this nagging ache. He said it felt like pressure deep in his body, sometimes radiating into his groin, sometimes toward the tops of his thighs. He told himself it was gardening, maybe arthritis, maybe age. But no amount of rest, stretching, or over-the-counter medicine gave relief. What he thought was harmless wear and tear was, in fact, early prostate cancer pressing on surrounding nerves and tissues. Here's why this matters. The prostate sits at a crossroads of the body, pressed against nerves, blood vessels, and lymph nodes. When it changes shape from inflammation or abnormal growth, that pressure doesn't stay put. It radiates, creating discomfort that refuses to fade. Unlike muscle strain, which heals, or arthritis, which follows familiar patterns, prostate-related pain simply persists. What makes this so dangerous is how men respond. They tell themselves, it'll pass, it's just age. The weeks turn into months and the pain stays. By the time many finally admit something is wrong, the disease has already advanced. That's why I stress one rule: if pain lingers for more than 2 weeks with no clear explanation, it deserves investigation. The simplest step you can take is to keep track. Write down when the pain appears, its intensity on a 1-10 scale, and what makes it worse or better. Maybe sitting worsens it, maybe standing helps. Maybe nothing changes at all. This log turns vague complaints into hard evidence your doctor can act on. Mr. Collins did exactly that, and because he finally spoke up, we caught his cancer early. His treatment not only relieved the discomfort, but gave him more years of health and life with his family. He told me later, "Doc, what scared me most wasn't the diagnosis. It was thinking about what would have happened if I'd stayed quiet." A pelvic pain that refuses to leave is like a smoke alarm you can't turn off. You can ignore it, cover it, or pretend it isn't there, but the fire continues to burn. Gentlemen, don't ignore it. The pain is not the enemy, it is the signal. Listen to it, act on it, protect your future. Because the next warning sign cuts even deeper, not just into your body, but into your confidence and sense of manhood. The sudden, unexplained onset of erectile dysfunction. A few changes shake a man's confidence, like suddenly realizing his body no longer responds the way it once did. I'm Dr. Jonathan Prescott, and I want to speak directly to those of you who have quietly noticed this shift. Erectile dysfunction, especially when it appears suddenly and without clear reason, can be far more than an issue of intimacy. It can be one of the earliest warning signs that your prostate is in trouble. I think of Mr. Raymond Foster, 67, a man who had always enjoyed a healthy relationship with his wife. Then, almost overnight, his body stopped cooperating. At first, he brushed it off as stress or fatigue. Weeks passed, then months, and the problem didn't resolve. He confessed to me in a whisper, "Doc, I feel like I'm not the man I used to be." His shame was real, but so was the underlying problem. changes in the prostate that were disrupting blood flow and nerve signals essential for normal erections. Here's what's happening inside. The same delicate network of nerves and vessels that control erections runs directly through and around the prostate. When the gland becomes enlarged, inflamed, or develops abnormal growths, those pathways are squeezed. Blood flow weakens, nerve signals misfire, and suddenly erections become unreliable or impossible. Men often assume this is just age catching up, but sudden onset erectile dysfunction without other clear causes is a red flag. Yes, there are many other potential contributors: certain medications, uncontrolled diabetes, smoking, alcohol, or stress. But if you don't fall into those categories and ED appears out of nowhere, it deserves immediate attention. In fact, research shows that men later diagnosed with prostate cancer often recall experiencing unexplained erectile difficulties years earlier. The impact of ED isn't only physical, it's emotional. I've seen men withdraw from their partners, avoid intimacy, and carry shame in silence. I've seen wives who only wanted honesty, not perfection, left feeling distanced. But I tell every man this: your value and your manhood are not defined by this symptom. What matters is how you respond to it, whether you hide from it or whether you recognize it as your body's cry for help. Mr. Foster chose to act. We ran the tests, confirmed prostate disease, and treated it early. Months later, he returned to my office smiling, his confidence restored. His words stay with me. "I thought I'd lost myself, Doc. Turns out I just needed to listen sooner." So here's my message to you. If erectile dysfunction has appeared suddenly in your life, don't dismiss it and don't hide. Look for other clues: changes in your urination, pelvic aches, nighttime trips. If these signs gather together, the picture becomes undeniable. Speak to your doctor, get the tests, and reclaim not only your health but your peace of mind. Because once your body starts sounding alarms this clearly, the real question becomes, will you act now, or wait until your choices are limited? And that brings us to where everything we've learned must come together in the conclusion. Now that we've walked together through the 7 critical early signs of prostate cancer, I hope you understand just how powerful awareness can be. Each clue, whether it's repeated infections, a weaker stream, restless nights, blood in your urine, unexplained pain, or sudden erectile dysfunction, is not a nuisance. It's your body speaking. Too many men ignore those whispers until they become shouts. And by then, the road forward is steeper, harder, and filled with fewer choices. I'm Dr. Jonathan Prescott, and I've seen both sides: the heartbreak of men who waited too long and the triumph of those who acted early. The difference between those two paths is not luck, it's attention. Keeping a log of your symptoms, speaking honestly with your doctor, and refusing to shrug off changes are the tools that can save not only years of life, but the quality of those years. Here's what I ask of you now: don't wait. Take what you've learned and turn it into action. And comment below with the number of signs you've experienced: 0, 1, 2, or more. Let's see how common these are among us. Hit the subscribe button so you never miss another life-saving message. And if you haven't already, press like on this video, because every like tells me you're choosing vigilance over denial. May your choice today bring you clarity, strength, and peace. And may it remind you that you still have the power to protect your health, your family, and your future.